Hey everybody, welcome back to the farm. Today we're in the new greenhouse and we're going to do a little show and tell, a little unboxing on our seeds for the year. And well, it's early January, it's the first week of January, and most home gardeners are just starting to think about what they want to plant for the year. We've been working on our seed list since last summer. So as we're growing different crops and we're wanting to try different varieties, or we might see different things online or social media, we do some investigation, and if we like what we find, good information or whatever, we throw the seeds in the cart and wait for the end of the year seed order. And with that said, our seed orders can get kind of sizable, but more importantly, we're starting 6 months out thinking about what we're going to do in the following spring. And most farmers are. You know, they have their seed orders in months ahead of time, and they are preparing and staging to get ready for production. And that's kind of where we are now. We're kind of in the midst of a really cold week, and it's not going to get any better for the next week or two. So I thought I'd take a little bit of time, and being as I can't work outside all that much, let's see what we got for seeds for the coming spring. Let's see. We're going to need the spectacles first. So right out of the gates, we have Osborne seeds. A couple of seasons ago, we picked up a variety through Instagram, I think it was, that they were putting out. It was a new hybrid they wanted to try, and it was called Green Dragon, and it's a Mizuna Bok Choy cross. It's kind of hard to describe, but the leaf is a little bolder than most leafy greens, but it has the Mizuna flavor, and it was just a really interesting plant. I wanted to give it a shot. We ordered some seed and it had a great response. Now the downside is, for the next 2 years I couldn't get seed for it. I'm not sure what was going on with Osborne. I didn't really follow up on it. I just kept checking back to see if they had it, and it was always out of stock. But this fall they had it, so we threw it in the cart and we're going to give it another run. So next up from Osborne, we have salad turnips. Hakurei is our go-to salad turnip. It's something that we have on the table. It's kind of one of our staples on the table, and when we first started carrying it here, it wasn't something that was very widely known. And we've done a lot to push it because it is such a great little salad addition. It's got a great texture, kind of crunchy like an apple, but also very juicy and peppery. It's got a really surprising complex flavor, and we really have a positive response on it. So keeping our eyes open for different things on the horizon, we found Niseko, and I'm going to really mess up this name, Ajabini? Can't really pronounce it. I'll put a link below. But it's a different cultivar of white salad turnip and then a red salad turnip. So it looks a lot like a radish, but it's supposed to have the texture and flavor of a Hakurei. So we're going to grow those out this spring. We got small packets because we're going to do a test grow. If I like the way it goes and I like the output, you'll see them at the table. If you don't see them at the table, it didn't go well or we didn't like them, and you won't see them again. Let's see, who else do we have here? Baker Creek. Baker Creek does a lot of heirloom seeds, and they also have a lot of rare, hard-to-find stuff. It's one of the reasons that we keep them on our rotation of different suppliers, is because they've always got the hard-to-find stuff. And they have some really unique stuff. So let's start with what's unique that we're going to try this time. We typically only do a handful of varieties of cherry tomatoes, and we like to have different colors inside the containers, on the market table. We really think about the end product of spicing up the texture and appearance of salads, and that's why we choose a lot of the types of crops that we choose. So as far as our tomatoes, our standards are Sun Gold and Cherry Bombs. Both of those we get from Johnny's, but you can get Sun Golds pretty much anywhere. The others that we rotate through, we've been carrying Black Cherry, but we do have a problem with that one. Once the temperature gets up, it doesn't really want to produce well. More on that in just a little bit though. The other one that we grow is called an atomic, and Miss Farmer, when I first selected that one, said nobody would eat it. It was just too crazy and wild looking because it's all these colors that are just, it's like a rainbow of colors inside this tomato. And we actually had quite the opposite response. We had a lot of people thought they were funky. They were interested in them because of the color, and it turns out it has a great flavor complex. But along those lines, we are going to try some different ones. We're doing black strawberry, Queen of the Night, which is this tangerine orange and black marble, and then another one called indigo blue chocolate. And the skin of that is just super deep purple, and the interior red is kind of like a maroon color. We're going to do some test grows on those just to test them out, and if depending on the production and the appearance, we'll make a selection from these 3 varieties what you'll see next season, if any of them, in our tomato baskets. If they do well this year, we'll sell a few, but I'm not going to plant too many of these, mainly because I'm just testing them out. So we'll see how it goes. Also from Baker Creek, we are going to try something relatively new. Now, Mizuna has been on our table for a while. We do baby leaf Mizuna. We sell that to some of the restaurants. We also produce it for the table, and we have a microgreen Mizuna. Now, Mizuna I became first aware of, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and I was planting seeds in the hydroponic table, and one of the cells that I planted grew a very odd plant, and somehow a Mizuna seed got mixed in with, I believe it was arugula, and it grew this really odd crown, and then these different colored leaves or different shaped leaves from the arugula that I was growing, but it tasted great. And I had somebody else look at it, and they were like, oh, that's Mizuna. So I looked it up, turned out I liked it, and so we started planting it as a micro and then growing it full size. Now, back to where we are with Baker Creek. Baker Creek produces a green Mizuna, which is the standard, but I also found a pink Mizuna. And the color striation between the two of them is a pretty good contrast. And I think if I can get them both to grow together, and we can cut them, maybe with a grains harvester or with a knife, and get it to mix as cut, it might make a really cool salad addition or salad base. So that's something we're going to give a shot this year. Baker Creek only sells the pink in these little packets, so I had to get a lot of packets in order to make it kind of balance out. But we're going to give that a shot this spring. If it goes well, you'll see it. If not, you won't hear about it again. Alright, so next up is Johnny's. These are my Johnny's boxes. We did have a couple more that got delivered, but they are like 25-pound bags of seed for the microgreen operation. It's nothing cool, nothing strange, but I think we got some peas and some radish and some other stuff like that for the micros. But a lot of this is going to be for the garden, so let's go through these. So first up, we have a couple pounds of dark opal basil. These are microgreens, and just kind of a restock. Let's see, what else do we have here? Next up, we have a couple pounds of lemon basil, same thing as the opal, just a restock. But next up is Provider. It's a bush bean, green bean. We did these last year. We had a pretty good response on them. Market clientele seemed to really enjoy them, and they're a nice, fast, late spring, addition. And we can do a couple different successions in 50-foot rows and plant them out, and they turn over quick. They're also a nice nitrogen fixing plant. So when we're done, we can just cut the stem at the base, right at the soil level, and leave all of that nitrogen and root structure behind. We'll add a little extra compost to it, and then plant right over the top of that. So kind of adding to our crop rotation, we're bringing in green beans. Let's see, what do we have going on here? Different types of lettuces. So typically, historically, we've grown Muir, Cherokee, Adriana, and we've tried the Salanovas. I'm not super enthused about the Salanovas, especially the Salanova Crisp, the green and red, and the N-sized green and red. For some reason, the Crisp and the N-sized seem to be aphid magnets. I don't know what it is about those plants, but they're aphid magnets. I can plant it side by side with Muir and Cherokee and have no problem on the Muir and Cherokee, but those Salanova blends of the Crisp and N-sized just seem to draw the aphids in. So we're going to be rolling those completely out of our inventory. Won't be using those anymore. But with that said, we need to bring in some replacements. So we brought in a leaf lettuce, Burgham's Green. We're going to test a romaine called Green Forest. We're trying a different kind of butterhead. Normally we just run Adriana, but Nancy is, if I remember right, it's a late season butterhead, so we can run it a little bit later. I might have that backwards. It might be an early. I remember I selected it because it was opposite of the other season, but I have to look that back up. And then just a standard butter crunch. So those will be the new addition lettuces that we're going to test out this year. We'll still be doing Muir, Cherokee, and Adriana. Those are our tried and true versions. We also added Starfighter to the mix. It gives us a nice option to the Muir for green. And the other one is Roxi. I think that's how you say that one. R-O-U-X-I. And that's just a red oak leaf. It's been a tried and true performer for us both on the hydroponic table and in the field. So we'll keep that one going as well. Next up, radish. We're running Crunchy King again this year. We do use Rover when it gets hotter, but early season we run a lot of Crunchy King. Let's see. We're not going to get into tomatoes just yet. For greens, we're adding Firebird, which is a hybrid Swiss chard that is all like a deep burgundy red. We're going to try a marigold microgreen and see how that turns out. And we're adding 5-star greenhouse lettuce mix to our greens mix rotation. We already use the premium greens mix and wildfire mix from Johnny's. Now we're adding in the 5-star just to have a different variation of greens. We're also rolling cheap frills and calibration. And we do all these in a rotation, just trying to have some different stuff all the time. Let's see, what else do we have up here? So this pile looks like it's kind of just all the others. So right off the top, we're restocking with Urich spinach, or Auric. It's a large leaf spinach. We'll actually have some bags of that going out this week. Proven performer. It does really well in the cold. It does well in the tunnels. It's got a deep savory flavor, something I really enjoy personally, so I'm going to keep growing that one. We're trying a different strain or a different cultivar of bok choy. I prefer the smaller mini or baby bok choys. The full-size ones, it's tough to get them to full size without the bugs getting to them. The smaller ones, we can start in the greenhouse for 2 to 3 weeks in a soil block, transplant it out, it's in the field for about 3 weeks, and then it's ready to go. And normally we use Black Summer and May King, but this time we're going to try Little Shanghai. And this one is blockier, a little broader shouldered, so we're going to give that a shot and see how it goes. Let's see, leeks. We're going to do probably just 1/2 bed of leeks this year. So we'll sprinkle these out, get them germinated in a large flat tray, and then separate them out and transplant them into the field. Probably do that in February, early March, so they'll be up by the end of the spring, early summer. We're also going to try Rangatito. I think that's how you say that. It's a different type of spinach. I'm always just trying these and trialing different ones to see what works better in our context or what doesn't. This one is a little more upright. It's supposed to be better for cutting with the greens cutter, so we'll see how that goes. Treasury, another version of cauliflower. The white cauliflower that we grow through the winter is awesome. It's literally amazing, but it doesn't hold well into the spring. Like as soon as it starts to heat up at all, it wants to bolt quickly. So we're going to try Treasury to see if we can't get a little season extension out of that. Then we have two varieties of zucchini. One is called Safari. It's a variegated, dark and light green stripe, almost like a watermelon. And then the other is called Dunja, and it's just a smaller, dark green zucchini. Now, the reason that we're switching our zucchini types is last year, size seemed to be a problem. You know, I didn't realize that the size of the zucchini was super important, you know, up beyond an extent. You know, obviously you don't want them too big, they get pithy and seedy and whatnot, but I noticed that the clientele wanted the extremely small ones, and the Black Summers just did not have, they weren't ripe enough at that size to sell. I tasted a few of them and the flavor just wasn't that good when they were that small. You needed to let them get a little bigger. So we're going to try two varieties that are supposed to be a little better for the smaller sizes. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. We also have Quarantino. It is a different type of cucumber. The size is different. It's a little smaller, a little deeper green, a little more robust cucumber. It came at the recommendation of our seed rep, so we'll see how it goes. Pick back up here. Camera turned off on me. We had to reset it. But we're going to move into tomatoes. This year we're going to be working with our Cherry Bomb and Sun Gold varieties again. Those are tried and true performers for us, so we will continue to use them. Edox. It's in the box of seeds that I ordered. I did order it. I don't remember why. One of the hazards of ordering seeds 6 months in advance is sometimes you forget specifically why you ordered a certain variety, so I'll have to go back and look it up and write down some notes on it as to why I did order it. Let's see what else we got. Baron and Olympus peppers, and Quarantino cucumbers. Baron and Olympus are the only two peppers that we'll probably plant this year. The other varieties that we have worked with just generally don't sell very well, so we're going to focus on the ones that do. And next up in this box, we have our new toy from Johnny's. As you know, we do soil blocks here on the farm. I don't really like the plastic starter cells. They are, to me, more trouble than they're worth most of the time. It's hard to get some plants out of them, like lettuce. It has a very dainty root structure, and I personally just struggle with using those starter cells with lettuce. If the germination mix is too dry, they stick. If it's too wet, they fall apart. Like, it's just such a narrow window that you can get them to pop out of the trays perfectly every time. And I've always struggled with lettuce with those trays. I just don't like them. I found that bok choy is very much the same. When it's done in those starter cells, they interlock with each other, and it's hard to get them separated. I've come to really appreciate soil blocking, and it may be a little more laborious on the front end, but it saves me a lot of time on the back end. That said, we currently use a 5-cell blocker, which is kind of slow. So this year, we're going to try the 12-cell, and it's kind of set up a lot like the Swift 200. You press this down and preload it with soil, and then you stamp the top part through to pop them out as you lift up. Johnny's has got a very simple training video on how to use it. I do wish they had spring-loaded the device somehow so that these pieces stayed connected. I don't really like this part of it, but I'll give it a fair shot and see how it works out. But to be able to do twice as many cells at once and feasibly almost in the same amount of time, hoping that that picks up our production. I'm going to play with it a little bit, and then I will probably do a video on this at some point in the very near future. But that is all for now. We're going to move this off to the side. Okay, next up is this big old box here. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to talk about our Black Summer tomatoes for just a second. The last couple seasons we've grown black cherry tomatoes, and I really enjoy the fruit itself. The plant has a very heavy vine. It's a very robust grower. It grows fast. Great transplant. You know, usually we don't have any failures on transplant. The downside is, though, it's very susceptible to Fusarium wilt, which we found out that we have last season that we have in our soil here. So whenever the temperatures get up around 80 to 85 degrees, or a little better 90-degree air temps during the day, that wilt kicks in and it knocks out all of the black cherries one by one. Our cherry bombs aren't affected really by it. The sun golds are minimally affected. Our yellow pear cherries were absolutely destroyed by it, and the heirloom atomics had a minimal response to it. Only one or two would fall. With that said, once we identified the problem, we had to figure out a solution, and the solution is grafting. We have some rootstock from Johnny's that addresses a number of different problems, and we're going to try that rootstock and try grafting. So, without further ado, we have our last box. This last box is a grafting kit from Johnny's. So, in the kits, which generally I'm opposed to kits, you end up getting a bunch of stuff you don't need, but this particular kit seemed to be pretty dead on with the minimal set of tools that you need to pull off grafting. So, first off, humidity domes. Controlling humidity in a graft or for a set of grafted plants. In order for them to heal, they have to have high humidity and low light, and so they provide domes with little dials that you can close off the humidity with. We have a sprayer, I'm assuming to add said humidity. That'll probably end up in the microgreen room later. Set of instructions. Who needs them? We got YouTube, right? Let's see, what else? 72 cell trays. Like I said before, generally I don't like cell trays, but for this particular purpose, I will start with these and see how it goes, and then once I've got some experience under my belt, I will probably progress up to using soil blocks and see how that goes. But for now, we'll start with cell trays. And then down here, we have the rest of it. They sent 3 different size clips for the stem, for where you join the 2 grafts together. They sent some support rods. You put these inside the edge of the side of the graft clip, and that stabilizes the plant in the soil to keep everything from moving. Super important so it can heal. And then bottom trays to go with the cells, and last but not least, a set of grafting scissors or a grafting knife. There's slots on the inside of the knife where you seat the stem, and that lines up the cut, so each time you do a cut, it's almost exact. And then from there, you just have to make sure that your scion and rootstock, the diameters of the stalks are the same, or you cut them at a level that they are. There's a ton of information out there on grafting and how to do it. If you're interested, suggest giving those a watch. Jesse Frost did a good video on it. University of Arizona did a good video on it. Johnny's has a documented a series on it. Tons of information out there. But basically, the purpose of grafting, for our context, is to use a rootstock that is resistant to some of the soil-borne pathogens that we have, and graft the tomato that we want on top of a root base that is resistant to that. But with all that said, that's going to be our new big adventure for the year, is learning to play with grafting. Hopefully we're successful with it. If we are, you'll hear more about it. If not, it'll just kind of go quietly into the dark. Not every experiment is a success. Not really an experiment, just learning. But anyway, we're going to do our best with it, see how it goes. And if you like what we're doing here, you like what you see, the content, hit the like and subscribe, maybe share it out with a friend. If you have any questions about any of the varieties or whatnot, if I don't do a follow-up on something in the future, hit me up, ask some questions, and I will try and do a follow-up and get back to you on them. If there's a variety that you might have a recommendation that I do try, put that down there as well. One of the fun parts of growing is that we're always looking for new stuff. Not any one plant is perfect, any one cultivar is perfect, so we're always trying different stuff to look for new things. And some are winners, some not so much, but everybody's context is different. So just because it's great on my farm doesn't mean it'll be great on your farm, even though you're just 20 miles away. With that said, like I said, if you like what we're doing here, give us a like and a follow, support the channel, and with that, have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining us.